I think most of us feel like we're in that state of just waiting for so many different things. But that doesn't mean that if we're waiting, we don't have to do anything. We can actually actively wait. Sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? But we're going to dive into this. I'm Hollie Taylor with Faith Strong today. This is our roundtable discussion, and I thought let's bring in some experts here today about actively waiting and the past year and a half. How do we survive and emerge stronger? So a huge thank you. Welcome, Orijin. Welcome, Robyn Roste.
Hello, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here at this very round table.
It's very round table. I would love for this to be in person, face to face, but this is the time that we find ourselves in. Everything's through Zoom.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the conversation will be well-rounded. So,
Ooh, he's got jokes.
boom, boom.
He's a poet. He's a comedian. Helping people with mental health. It's Orijin. That's the intro I should have done.
Oh, stop it, you. Too kind.
But I'm so glad to have you guys on today because a few weeks ago on Good Company, we had been having a conversation about mental health, and about 50% of those surveyed in the U.S. Had extreme anxiety about what comes next and about returning to a normal or a pre-pandemic life in the post-pandemic world. And so it was really interesting just to see how many people are really struggling with anxiety and what do we do with that and how do we support each other?
Yeah, I recently read your article, Robyn, about the topic of active waiting, and it really got me thinking about just how much when we're in this experience of waiting for something to shift in terms of how we're all experiencing life in this pandemic, it really creates kind of this frustration, this sense of just deep uncertainty, because we're waiting, but we don't know how long we're going to be waiting for. At least, if you're waiting for something that's coming up on your calendar, you can cross off the days and get closer to the destination. But I feel like it's that aspect of this time we're all living through that makes it so much more difficult is just the uncertainty and really holding this burden of not having enough information to tell us how long we're going to be doing this for.
I think even as we imagine like going back to normal, it's almost like, I don't know if I want to. What is it going to look like when I get out of the bomb shelter? Mm-hmm. And we watch some communities getting to it. They're already back to normal. My community isn't and probably won't be for a while. And, part of me is okay with that. And the other part of me is desperate to get out of here and just go somewhere, anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
What's great about this table is that I'm based out of Edmonton right now. So we've got Alberta represented. Robyn, you're in BC. Orijin, you're in Ontario. And I feel like we're kind of the three provinces that have really struggled with COVID the most. I kind of feel like Alberta's been number one, which is not stats that I love seeing. But the goalpost keeps getting moved and it's hard. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, I just have 2 more weeks and then online learning will be done. And then they're like, well, maybe not. We'll see. It'll be a surprise. I'm done with the surprises. I just want some normalcy. I just want to have a goalpost that we can reach and celebrate that we hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is getting harder to wait, especially as we see that there is an end, because maybe last year we didn't see an end. So, it's kind of easier just to settle in on the couch and ride it out. Now it's feeling a little different.
Mm-hmm. I think also at the beginning of all these major shifts of lockdown and first wave and even second wave, there was still a sense of, okay, like there's a novelty to how we're doing life right now. It might be difficult to be doing life through Zoom calls and everything's online and not seeing people face to face as much, but still kind of new. There's a novelty. It's fun. We can make the most of this. And I think now it's just such a slog.
Yes.
To continue doing things in this way. And as humans, we have deep need to connect face to face. We have needs for touch. We have needs to access community. And so I feel like the longer it has dragged on, the harder it has been just to cope on a very basic level. So there's so many factors contributing to this.
Yeah, I heard, and I don't remember where it was, so please don't quote me on it, but it was for those who are in extremely traumatic situations, those who have set goalposts already. It's like, okay, we'll only be here for a couple of weeks and then things will go back to normal. Okay, those couple of weeks are up. Okay, 1 month, 2 months. And every time that, that deadline they set passes, they start to lose hope. But it's those who can find hope in the hard time. It's like, doesn't matter how long it's going to be. In this moment, I'm going to find hope. I'm going to find gratitude. Those are the ones that actually can weather the storm longer, better. And it's an interesting mind shift. And it's one that I think is being challenged right now. But like you said, there's like so many different things and different angles. I mean, you think about the kids who've never seen grandparents because they were born last year, or the 2-year-olds who are wondering where the rest of the family is and do people not like them because they just don't understand, or the graduates who've been waiting for this year forever. To them, it's forever. And now they're not just mourning, the grief of a transition that's huge, but they're mourning the dreams they had of what they wanted to do this last year. And what does that now mean for them moving forward? So social impact, huge.
Massive.
But there are ways that we can navigate this. It's also encouraging to know that we are not alone, that a lot of people are dealing with anxiety. A lot of people are going to have PTSD coming out of this. But again, we will come out of it. We just have to be patient. I am not a patient person. This has been very, very tough for me. I just want it over now. Like, impatience is probably my middle name. You can ask my family. Like, waiting at a light for like 30 seconds. I'm like, I'm out. I'm just going to walk. I can walk faster. That's my reality. So it's been really tough.
I don't think you're alone in that. And first off, I just want to normalize the reality that experiences like what we're all going through really are traumatic. Repeated experiences of feeling like we don't have any power over our world. We set a goal, it gets shot down. It really does create a shift in our nervous system, in our brain, where we don't feel the sense of safety and connection like we normally would. So there is a lot that really contributes to that stress. But I do agree that learning and kind of reteaching ourselves, our nervous systems, to feel safe, to experience patience, is something we can all work on to make it easier to progress through moments like these. But it's especially challenging to cultivate a skill of patience living in the world that we live in. I was just looking at a study. It was done in Britain by a group called One Poll. I got some interesting stats for us here. Okay. That on average, it takes people 16 seconds of waiting for a web page to load to start to feel frustration in their body. It takes 30 seconds of waiting in line for frustration to start happening. 25 seconds of waiting for a traffic signal, or 18 seconds of, get this, searching for a pen. These little minute things that are part of our everyday experience. We experience real frustration in those moments. And we live in a world where everything is on demand. Everything is now. Yeah. And so it really is challenging for us to shift how we experience like expectation, how we experience the demands we place on the world and on ourselves for things to happen quickly and when we want them to. It's a massive change from how a lot of us normally experience the world.
From those stats, those people sound really patient, in my opinion. I'm just going to put that out there. Would you say that you are more patient now than pre-pandemic? Or do you find yourselves being a little bit more impatient because you're tired of this?
Good question.
I know. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think I'm more patient.
More patient. That's great.
I think. You'd have to talk to my husband, though.
How about you, Robyn?
Yeah, I'm not sure because who do I ask? Really, I have myself, I guess, to ask, and I guess I feel like I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. But then in some moments, waiting at a traffic light, or if someone cuts me off, or if I had an expectation of something arriving on Saturday and it didn't. I can sense that I'm not as patient. But I think what I've really learned is that from just being out of control, like you said, Orijin, it's that I never actually had control. I never actually had the safety I thought I had, and that has been scary and uncomfortable. But I've realized like there's just so much more I need to learn about trusting the Lord to be my safety, to give me endurance to get through these trials. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned about patience, because like in Isaiah, it says, when we trust in the Lord, we find new strength. And you soar high on wings like eagles. You run and you don't grow weary. And that's where I'm like applying patience in my own life. Like, how can I endure and leave it with God and just trust that He'll figure it out in His timing, even though I'm like over it.
Yeah. It's definitely a spiritual gift.
And it sounds like when the impatience comes up for you, that's almost been like instructive or like prompting you to reflect, like, what is this about and what can I bring to God in this moment? Because it's never about just the package that we're waiting for. Usually, like you mentioned, I agree. I think it is about like, am I feeling like I have what I need in this moment? Am I feeling safe? And those are underlying needs that oftentimes I really think God is just waiting for us to bring to Him, for Him to meet. For myself, I think my experience has been somewhat similar to yours. I'd like to be generous in my assumptions about myself and say I've been more patient lately because, everything's been out of control. So it's just been, I think, a learning process of radically accepting that things are going to happen in the time that they happen. And there's a limited kind of sphere of things that I don't even like the word control per se, but I can influence or I can manage. There are things that are my responsibility. And there's a whole lot else that is just left to chance, to the world, and to just the working of God. And I heard this idea recently. I wish I could quote who shared this, but I think it's brilliant. These moments when I feel like the distress of impatience, those moments can be one of two things. They can be my master or they can be my teacher, right? I can be ruled by this feeling of impatience that says, okay, now I must control the situation. Now I must get reactive. Somebody's going to get it, right? Or I can allow that moment to teach me something about what I need. I can allow that moment to reveal to me maybe a new skill or something that I can communicate to people around me, something I can bring to God in prayer. So I think for me, I'm wanting to make those moments of impatience more of a teacher, more of a reflective moment. It's a work in progress.
I'm so glad this is recorded because I needed to take notes. That was great because often in those moments of impatience where you feel frustrated, it's so easy to get caught up in self and not take that moment of realization that, hey, I could learn something. You grow the most when you are confronted with something. And so for me, the idea of like trying to be more patient and trusting God in those moments and just being able to be still and wait, I mean, that's going to be a life journey for me, I know, but like waiting can be so challenging. And Robyn, you did an article recently at faithstrongtoday.com about waiting and active waiting. I like that because I like to be active. So the idea of active and waiting together, you have my attention. Talk to us a little bit about that active waiting and how can we become more patient and really weather this storm in a healthy way.
Yeah. Well, it feels like those words don't go together, active and patience or active and waiting, because I guess our typical definition is when you wait, you're just doing nothing. But the active part of it is the spiritual work or the heart work or the inside work, when that semblance of patience is actually that we can tolerate these troubles or suffering or delays without getting upset. And so we're overcoming these emotions, which isn't a simple thing. And it does take a lot of just work. But that work is quiet, and it's, inside work, and it's by yourself often or through conversation. And so that's the active part. It's just not the active that we kind of assume, where you're going out and doing something physical. And it's a whole different mindset and approach to asking, what is my part in this? What's my responsibility when I'm waiting? And a lot of it comes down to, am I talking to God about this? Am I reflecting on what these emotions are bringing up in my heart? Is this showing me something I need to work on? And then focusing your attention, Orijin, you've said this earlier, focusing your attention on what you can control. And these things are, I can control my prayer life. I can control my Bible reading. I can control my own actions, and really working there while you're waiting for these bigger things to happen that are outside of your control.
That's brilliant. Something that just comes to mind for me is oftentimes it's not even so much about what we're waiting for, but I think it can be about our discomfort just with the feeling of impatience itself, right? If you've ever seen a kid like in any waiting room ever with their parent, you can see them just like fidgeting or getting up on their chair or looking for something or asking for a game to play on a parent's phone. Like there's a very active work that they're doing emotionally, physiologically, mentally to kind of contain the feeling that comes up when we don't know how long we're waiting, or when we don't have control over our circumstances and our environment. And I really feel like if we're able to even just acknowledge, I feel impatient right now. This is a feeling that I'm experiencing. It's normal. It's human. And then we ask that second question, what can I do now to soothe this? Can I talk to God about this feeling? Can I turn to some scripture? Can I learn from Jesus and how he is never in a hurry for anything?
Yes.
I think we can do a lot more good for ourselves and for the people we influence with our presence when we start with just simply acknowledging it's human to feel impatient. We don't have to stuff that feeling or get reactive about it. We can just name it, notice it, and do something to help us be more in tune with the moment, like those amazing suggestions that Robyn just named, and that you can also read in her article on Take Strong Today.
Oh, goodness. But also, Orijin, what you say, how we can take that, what we're doing with those emotions and, naming it, and then what? So let's dive into the then what, because I think that's where a lot of people are. We are dealing with anxiety. We are seeing friends dealing with anxiety and grief, and we can't go up to our neighbors and just give them a big old hug. So how do we weather this storm? What does it mean for us to go forward in a healthy way? What are some of your suggestions?
So I'm just going to reach back a couple minutes and just really make this so front and center. Like we have to, even before we get to the problem solving of any situation, we have to, the word I use is like regulate our emotions, right? So if I'm feeling grief, if I'm feeling impatience, frustration, whatever it is, there's three steps here. First, we have to notice that we're feeling it. If we're not able to actually pay attention to what we're experiencing, it becomes our master rather than our teacher, right? So first we have to notice, I recognize I'm becoming more short-tempered. I recognize that I'm crying a lot because I just miss the way things used to be. So notice. And then secondly, name it. This is grief. This is impatience. This is sadness. This is feeling of powerlessness, just naming what it is. And then third, another N, is do something to meet the need. All right. So notice, name it, and do something to meet the need. So if I'm having a need for community connection, maybe right now I can't totally fix that. But maybe what I can do is just give a call to somebody who I care about. Maybe I can look at some photos of past times when I was with the people who I love and experience a soothing through that. Who is around me that I can reach out to in a safe and responsible way to meet my need for connection, right? So I really think the more we're able to tune into those inner experiences that we have, the more I think we're able to cope with these challenging circumstances. I think it really starts with taking good care of ourselves.
I think for me, seeing some of the benefits of this season of life has actually been really helpful. The kids are at home doing at-home schooling, and you think, this is really tough. But I've been able to engage in a way that I would have never been able to previously with their lives, and to be more active. And, we can't go out anywhere. So now we're doing family time, and we've really been able to carve out time where we talk about the day, where we have meals together, where we're doing family movie nights or game nights. And my kids are still fairly young, elementary age and younger. And I'm just so grateful for this time, because this is such a fundamental time in their lives that had this not been happening, I would already be in Ontario. I would already be doing a mass commute. I wouldn't be as there and present. So when I focus on the blessings that I've gotten in this season of time, which is one of my love languages, and of being there with my kids and being able to squeeze them whenever I want to, this is something super unique. And that's something that I hold on to. Those things I can be grateful for that this period of life is affording me to do. So it's like that double-edged sword. Would I like normal? Sure. But what a really cool opportunity that I have to really forge a great foundation in the lives of my kids with our relationship.
Yeah. And I think it's going to pay off long term, that time.
Yeah. That's the prayer.
Now yeah.
Because the teen years are coming. What about for you, Robyn? Okay. What have been some of your ways of coping and learning to wait well?
I think at the start of this, year-long trial we've all had, I didn't want to see the silver lining or the good side or acknowledge my emotions, because I felt so angry and like it was so unfair. And why would I make this into a positive? Because, I want to be that victim. And the biggest thing for me is just learning there's so much more positive things that happen when I can let go of that and dig into, what I just need to make the most of this, because I'm living right now, not waiting for it later. I'm living today. And so just finding those moments has been really key for me. So making sure I'm going for walks and noticing things, taking pictures. Last year I had a big garden and found a lot of just pleasure and joy from having a garden and working in the dirt. Something I wouldn't have had time to do if things were different. And just really finding these small moments where I can be grateful and really watch my heart start changing as a response.
Wow.
We've all had different ways of coping with this, and that's the joy. There's no one answer. There's no one right way of navigating this season that we find ourselves in. So no matter where you are on your journey, just know that you are not alone. Orijin, Robyn, thank you so much for being a part of today's very first ever of its kind roundtable discussion. It has been incredible just hearing your perspectives on what we find ourselves dealing with from a social level, talking about patience and impatience and waiting, and how can we move ahead in a healthy way. These are conversations that for some might feel old, but I think because so many people are still struggling, they're conversations that we still need to have. So thank you for engaging today.
It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to you for tuning in. We totally appreciate hearing from you. Be sure to like the video, to share your thoughts as well on today's topic, and you can do so in the comments below. And for more conversations about Christian life and culture, keep it here on Faith Strong Today.